Hi, today we're going to be looking at object-oriented programming in Delphi, and we're going to write our program using the principles of I've opened Delphi. We're going to write a user-defined unit. So once you click on File, New, Unit, and if you look at our template we have it as Unit 2. We're going to give it a name, and the name that I'm going to use here is tshape underscore U. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to save this. File, Save As, and I've created a folder on my desktop called Shape. We're going to save it in this folder called Shape. And we're going to give it a name. We want to match the name with the unit, which is tshape underscore U. And then we're going to save that. If we look at the template, under Interface, we're going to create two sections under Interface, which is Users and Type. Under Type, we want two sections, which is Private and Public. We'll discuss this a little later. Now, if we go under Users, the first thing under Users, we're going to include the sysutils. And if we go under Type, firstly, under the Type section, we need to declare our class. So I'm going to call it tshape, which is equal to class, and if we use control space after we put our bracket, it should pick up tObject. So the name of our class, tshape, no semicolon. Then we're going to jump to our private section. In the private section, we're going to declare our attributes. And if you're confused at this stage, what do we mean by attributes? We're going to declare all the global variables that we will be using in this program. So I'm going to put a quick note here for you. This section here is visible to this unit only, and it cannot and can only be used in this unit. So let's look at the fields, the global fields that I'll be using in this class. The attributes, the first one is fname, and that's going to be of type string that will store the name of the shape, and in this case it's going to be a rectangle. Then I want two variables, f length, comma f breadth, and we're going to declare that of type integer. Job done. So we have three attributes that we'll be using: fname, flength, and fbreadth. We move on to the public section, and in the public section we're going to declare all our methods and constructors, and this is actually visible to all other units, the units that are not part of this program as well. So if I look at this, the first thing I'm going to do is declare my constructor, which, and I'm going to use the word create because we want to declare the constructor that we're writing in this class. And we're going to use parameters. So we're going to call this sname, which will be of type string. And I'm going to use two variables, and they're going to be called length, comma breadth, and that's going to be a type integer. So we've declared our constructor. These are our headers to our constructor and our methods. Next, I'm going to have a function, and my function I'm going to call getLength. Just want to get the spelling right there. GetLength, which is of type integer, and this is my accessor method, which will return the length of this rectangle. So that I'm going to label as an accessor method. So that's our accessor method declaration. Next, I'm going to have a function getBreadth, which is of type integer, because our global variable declaration for breadth is of type integer. and that's also an accessor method. Next we're going to have an auxiliary method, which is a function which will find the area. So I'm going to call it get area, and that is also of type integer. Then we're going to have one that will also work out the perimeter, so I'm going to call it function get perimeter, which is also of type integer. And the last one, I'm going to create a procedure. Since I have so many functions, let's introduce a procedure. And this procedure is a declaration for the mutator method, which will be called setLength. And we need a parameter so that we'll be able to change the length. So I'm going to use iLength, which is of type integer. So I've done my declaration, and after I've done that, I'm going to use the word end. So I'm going to Control D that just to get everything aligned, and you'll notice that I have an error there, and if we're going to sort the error out, we have to quickly trace to see where the error is, and I forgot to put in a bracket. So let's get our bracket there, and everything is looking very good at this stage. Control D to align it. So you'll notice that I've done my declaration for all my methods and my constructor. Now, going to the implementation part of the program. So to get the structure, the skeleton of all our procedures, all we have to do is Control Shift C, magic. You'll notice that in the implementation section, all our procedures are now declared. So the first one we have, if we're looking at this, is our constructor. You'll notice there's your header, and there's the constructor, and the difference between the header and the actual declaration on our constructor is the name of the class tshape.create. Notice tshape.getArea. So if you were writing this for the first time, all you'll have to do, and if you don't use Control Shift C, you got to put your class name in front of create, class name in front of getArea, etc. So let's get to our constructor. You'll notice our constructor has 1, 2, 3 parameters. So we have a global variable name fName. So we're going to now say fName, which is our global variable, is assigned the name coming in via the parameter, which is sname. And you'll notice I typed that in, not very clever. In future, we're going to use control space. So the next one, f control space. The next one is fLength, and that's going to be assigned iLength. Control space, and you can see it's picking it up. If we use the control space, we were going to make less errors. Next one is fBreadth. Control space is assigned iBreadth. Control space. So our constructor is now set up. Just to backtrack, what am I doing? I'm taking the global name fName and assigning it to the parameter sname. Global name fLength, assigning to the parameter iLength. And we're doing the same thing for fBreadth. The next thing is we're going to go to the function getArea. Okay, we'll come back to getArea. Let's go and do the variables or the dimensions, the breadth and the length. So we have a function called getBreadth, which we are saying is an accessor stroke get method. And the function of the accessor method is to return the length. So we use a keyword, a reserved word called result, which is assigned, and it will take on the global variable name, which is f, in this case fBreadth. So when this procedure is called up, it will return the global value of fBreadth. We're going to do the same thing for shape. Result is assigned f control space length. So we've returned the length. Now we have two accessor methods. So if we have returned the breadth and the length, we are done with our two accessor method. We now go to getArea. And getArea needs to calculate and return, so I'm going to use the word result, the area. And we know the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times breadth. The variables that are holding it are called f control space, fBreadth, or fLength times f control space length, and that will return the area of the shape. So I've done the area, I've done the breadth, I've done the length. I'm going to perimeter. The formula for perimeter, I'm going to say result is assigned. And we all know how do we find the perimeter. We got to firstly add the f breadth or f length to the f breadth. And then we're going to take that and multiply it by 2. So that will return the perimeter. The last one is a mutator method. And the mutator method is going to receive the length, and we're going to change the global value of length. So I'm going to say f length, as you can see, will be assigned to the parameter I length. I control space, I length, and we're done. So if you look at this, control D, which will align this, and then we're going to save that, file, save. And if you look at our units, let's just quickly go to it. T-shape U, that's the name. We've declared the class name T-shape. We have a private section declaring the 3 variables I'm using. Then I have my declaration for my constructor and methods. Constructor create using 3 parameters. Function get length, function get breadth, function get area, and then function get perimeter. And then we have a procedure, a mutator, which is going to be our mutator method called set length. Under implementation, we press Ctrl Shift C, and we had all the methods generated. And you'll notice in our constructor, all we've done is we've taken the global variables and assigned it to the parameters that have come in. Then we work out the area by saying breadth times length or length times breadth, and to the function get breadth, which returns the breadth, function get length, which returns the length. Perimeter calculates and returns the perimeter. And we have one mutator method. We could have more if we need to, and that's f length, which is our global variable, is assigned I length, which is our local variable or your parameter.